She spent 5 months caring for her dying mother. When she came home, soaking wet from the rain, dragging a suitcase, her husband was standing in the lobby with another woman on his arm. He handed her divorce papers, changed the locks, and told her she contributed nothing to their marriage. He took the penthouse, the car, every bank account, everything. She had $30, no home, and nowhere to go. But then, she found something in her mother's old purse. A worn bank card, her father's name embossed in faded gold. What happened when she walked into that bank? The teller froze. The manager turned pale. And within minutes, they escorted her to a private vault she didn't know existed. Her father, the man who wore the same watch for 15 years, had left her something. Not money, not a house, a kingdom. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this story, it's about a woman who lost everything and discovered she'd been royalty all along. Now, here's what happened the night Mariana Aduc activated her father's trust. Rain hammered against the sidewalk as Mariana Aduc sprinted across Riverside Haven's downtown plaza, her suitcase wheels skidding behind her like a stubborn child refusing to keep up. Her coat was soaked through, sticking to her arms, and the icy wind cut into her skin until her fingers went numb around the handle of the bag. But she didn't care. She needed to get home. She needed Darius. Her breath came in ragged bursts as she burst through the glass doors of the Monarch Residences, the luxury high-rise she had lived in for 5 years. She dragged her dripping suitcase across the marble floor, coughing from exhaustion. 36 hours of buses, taxis, and waiting rooms. Anything she could scrape together after leaving her mother's hospice had left her body trembling. All she wanted was a shower, a hot meal, her husband's arms. "Evening, Mrs. Camby," the security guard, Frank, said automatically as she approached the elevators. But his eyes darted nervously to the side. Panic flickered there. Something was off. Mariana pressed the button. Nothing happened. She pressed it again. Still nothing. "Frank? Is the elevator down?" she asked. Frank swallowed. Actually, Mrs. Camby." The elevator pinged open from above, and out stepped Darius Camby, immaculately dressed in a charcoal coat, his collar crisp, his hair perfectly trimmed. His expression froze when he saw her, shock at first, and then something darker, sharper, merciless. Beside him, her arm looped in his, stood a young woman in a red dress, face glowing with makeup and victory. Mariana blinked. Her mind stalled. She had just spent months bathing her dying mother, feeding her, begging doctors for extra morphine. And this is what she returned to? She stepped forward. "Darius, what's going on? Who is she?" The woman smirked. Darius didn't. He walked down the last step and stopped 2 feet from Mariana. His voice was smooth, rehearsed, too calm. "Mariana, you shouldn't be here." "I live here," she said softly. "Not anymore." A cold crack fissured through her chest. Her suitcase tilted as her grip went weak. "What do you mean?" Darius sighed as if she were inconveniencing him. "I filed for divorce. You've been gone for 5 months, Mariana. You checked out of the marriage long before I made my decision." "That's not fair," she rasped. "I was caring for my mother." "And yet," he cut in, "you didn't care for your husband." The young woman laughed lightly, leaning into him. "Let's not make this dramatic, babe." Mariana felt her heart shred in real time. She turned toward Frank, desperate. "Let me up. Please." Frank looked trapped. "Mrs. Camby. I'm sorry. I can't." Darius reached into his coat and pulled out a folded document. "I've already transferred all the assets. Everything is under my name now. And," he added coolly, "the locks have been changed." Mariana grabbed the papers with shaking hands, flipping through them in panic. The words blurred. Divorce petition. Asset reassignment. Non-compete clause. Zero financial compensation. "You left me with nothing," she whispered. "Correction," Darius said. "I left you with what you contributed to this marriage, which is nothing." His cruelty hit harder than the wind outside. "And her?" Mariana asked hoarsely, nodding toward the young woman. Darius smiled. "Selah will be staying with me from now on." Selah brushed past Mariana, deliberately bumping her shoulder. "Move, sweetheart. You're dripping on the floor. Mariana's chest locked. Her breath collapsed inside her. Darius placed a final sheet in her hand. It's best if you don't come back. He turned. Just like that. He turned away from her like she was a stranger, a beggar, a burden. The elevator doors slid shut, sealing him behind gleaming steel. And Mariana broke. She drifted out of the building in a fog, the rain plastering her hair to her face. Her suitcase felt heavier, like it carried all her failures inside it. By the time she reached the bus station 3 blocks away, her legs buckled. She curled inside a restroom stall, hugging her knees to her chest. Her mother had died 3 days ago. She had spent the last of her money on transport and a funeral contribution. She had nothing, no home, no car, no bank access. And no husband. Her breath shuddered. She opened her mother's old handbag, the same one she had used in hospice, and rummaged through tissues, receipts, the last bottle of hand lotion her mother had used. Her fingers brushed something stiff. A bank card. Old. Worn. Embossed with faded gold letters. Jonas Seduk Trust Access. Her father. A man who had spoken in riddles, always telling her, "One day, everything I leave behind will matter. One day you will need a key." This card. Was this the key? Mariana wiped her tears and stood. She felt ridiculous, hopeful, but desperation is a kind of courage. She left the station and walked through the storm toward the only bank branch still lit at midnight. Carver State Bank. Her heart hammered as she approached the teller window, dripping rainwater onto the polished floor. The teller glanced up. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Mariana slid the old card forward. I need to check the balance. It's my father's account." The teller inserted the card. The moment he did, his face changed. His eyes widened. His hand froze. He swallowed hard, then turned pale. "Mom, I need to call the manager." Mariana blinked. "Why? What's wrong?" But he was already backing away, fumbling for the internal phone. Within seconds, doors unlocked. 2 supervisors stepped out. A third man in a suit rushed from the back office. They looked at Mariana like she had detonated a bomb in the lobby. "What is this?" she whispered. The manager approached slowly, breath uneven. He cleared his throat. "Ma'am, this account it." He adjusted his glasses, stunned. This account should not even exist. Mariana's pulse thundered. "What do you mean?" The manager held up the screen. "Your father's card. It's tied to an inactive corporate vault with security clearance above this branch. And the system is flagging it as high-priority lineage access." He stared at her like she was someone important, someone dangerous. "Miss Seduk," he said softly, "we need to take you to the private level immediately." Mariana's stomach dropped. She had no idea her father had left her anything, but she was about to find out. The manager's words had barely left his mouth when the private level door eased closed behind Mariana. The lobby's fluorescence seemed suddenly too bright, each tile reflecting her soaked coat and the smear of rain on her hair like a portrait she didn't recognize. She followed the manager down a corridor of glass and chrome that felt designed to separate ordinary people from extraordinary problems. "You understand this is unusual," the manager said, voice hushed now that they were away from the cameras. "Most of our tellers don't even see this flag. Your father's file, he set something up decades ago. We rarely, if ever, activate it without direct verification." Mariana's hands were still damp from the rain. She clutched the worn card like a talisman, the letters on it dulled by years of use and neglect. Jonas Seduk Trust Access. Her father's voice drifted back into her mind in a memory she hadn't expected. A man in a battered cardigan who taught her how to prune tomatoes and how to read a ledger by candlelight. "You'll know when to use the key." He had never explained how or why or what the key would unlock. The private office smelled faintly of coffee and leather. A woman in a navy suit rose from behind a wide desk and offered Mariana a chair with the kind of calm that could be mistaken for control. She introduced herself as Teresa Lane, Senior Trust Officer. "Ms. Seduk," Teresa said, "we're going to need some identification and some time to verify the lineage. This account, this corporation has multiple layers of protection. It's the sort of legacy Mr. Jonas Seduk planned to leave intact unless the contingency was met." She set a thin folder on the table, as if laying down a new truth. "You weren't expected to appear tonight. That's unusual." Mariana swallowed. I didn't expect any of this. I came straight from my mother's funeral. Her voice cracked. The folder seemed suddenly heavier. Teresa opened the folder slowly and motioned to a screen behind her. A map bloomed across it, green swathes of land bordered by creeks and old roads, tagged with tiny icons. Mariana's breath hitched when she recognized the name on the header. Aduk Heritage Enterprises, LLC. Your father registered this company in the late 80s, Teresa said. He created what we call a contingent corporate trust. It went dormant, no public activity for years. According to the files, it is to be activated only upon direct lineage verification, or in an emergency clause that can be triggered by a personal card like the one you presented. Mariana stared at the map. The green spread across the screen read like a story she'd been excluded from. 1,800 acres, mixed-use farmland, 3 long-term municipal bonds, a restored historic house with annex buildings, mineral rights registered but dormant, cash reserves in a corporate holding. Those acres, Teresa added quietly, are only one part. There are structured trusts inside the company that funnel into community development accounts, emergency funds, and a separate operating entity. Your father didn't just hide money. He built infrastructure. Her hands began to tremble in earnest now. Why didn't he tell me? He left instructions, Teresa said, but he also placed very strict conditions. For reasons we can't disclose in detail without verification, security, confidentiality. This file remains sealed until someone with direct claim appears. You did that tonight by presenting the card. Mariana felt a cold, fizzing lightness at the base of her skull. The bus station, the restroom stall, the rain, Darius's folded cruelty. Somehow the edges of those scenes softened, replaced by the hum of possibility. She had no right to hope. Hope felt dangerous. But the map, those acres, were tangible, as real as the mud her father had once tracked into the kitchen. Teresa watched her carefully, like one watches someone decide whether to accept a gift that will demand everything in return. I can't give you access right now, she said. Not without verification. But I can tell you this. Activating the corporate vault will require structure, legal counsel, a corporate attorney, and a financial custodian. That's standard. It will also expose you to a world you might not be used to. Mariana's laugh came out thin. I just need a shower. You need more than a shower, Teresa replied. If what's in this trust is as it appears, you could rebuild your life. But you'll be stepping into corporate governance, liability, and obligations. There will be auditors. There will be eyes watching. If you intend to proceed, the bank will appoint a custodian team to guide the transition. A knock sounded at the door, then a man's voice. Teresa? We have a name check hit on Kruma. Teresa's shoulders eased. Send him in. The man who entered did not look like the suits from the back office. He had the grave, lean look of someone who'd spent more time in strategy rooms than at cocktail receptions, sharp cheekbones, small eyes that missed nothing. He wore a nondescript coat and carried a slim portfolio as if it contained both answers and questions. The name on his card read, Elliot Kruma, Corporate Recovery and Asset Strategy. Elliot's gaze flicked to Mariana and then to the map. He let out a breath that might have been a smile half hidden in professional reserve. Ms. Aduk, he said, extending a hand that was neither warm nor cold. Your father and I were colleagues on a few projects decades ago. I assisted with some advisory work for Mr. Jonas Aduk when we were younger. This file. It's very much his handwriting. Mariana's fingers closed around Elliot's when she took his hand, relief surprising her. You knew him, she asked. Her voice was smaller than she felt. I did, Elliot said simply. Jonas had a way of planning for storms. He didn't want his assets used for personal indulgence. He wanted a backbone, something that could be used to lift others when the time came. From what I'm seeing, this trust can be that backbone. But it needs a steward who understands both finance and consequence. Teresa produced a form and pushed it across the table. Sign this to allow us to begin a provisional verification. It won't grant full access, but it will let us assemble the custodial team and prepare a provisional activation proposal. Mariana stared at the line where her name would go. The handwriting would be the beginning of a legal metamorphosis. She imagined Darius reading the same contract in a courtroom, imagining channels closed off to him. She imagined Selah's laugh reduced to static. She imagined someone finally being held to account for the way she had been treated. Her throat tightened. This was sudden. This was terrifying. It was also the first clear step away from the bus station and the restroom stall. She signed. The pen's scratch felt like a sound that would echo for months. Teresa nodded and the bank's internal systems began to hum. Calls placed, verifications requested. A small whirlwind of bureaucracy that somehow felt like a second heartbeat. Elliot stayed for a moment longer watching her sign. When she was done, he folded his hands and said, "Ms. Aduke, I don't do emotional rescues. I do structural ones. If you want the company to become a tool rather than a trophy, you're going to have to learn to play chess with balance sheets. You'll need counsel, a corporate charter, and a plan that keeps the community and the books honest." Mariana looked up at him, rain-dried eyelashes trembling. "I don't even know how to run a business." "You'll learn," Elliot said, but his eyes were kind in a way that didn't pity. "And you won't have to do it alone." For the first time in hours, maybe days, something like fierce clarity settled in Mariana. The night's cold receded a fraction. The bank's private door was closing behind her old life. The one ahead was raw and unfamiliar, and it would demand everything. She breathed in. She said nothing. But inside her the map burned like a compass. Outside, somewhere beyond the bank's thick glass, the city's rain still beat a steady rhythm. Darius would be sleeping in a bed he'd chosen. The lock he'd changed, a symbol of what he thought he'd taken. Mariana touched the card in her pocket, feeling the smooth worn plastic beneath her fingertips, and whispered not to Teresa or Elliot, but to the memory of her father. "I'm coming home." The rain had stopped by the time Mariana stepped out of the bank's private exit, but the streets were slick with silver puddles and neon reflections. She stood under the awning, clutching her thin jacket around herself, and realized she had nowhere to go. The city hummed around her, cars sweeping by, a distant siren, laughter spilling from a restaurant patio. Life continued unabated, indifferent to the fact that her whole world had collapsed and then tilted open again within the span of a single day. Her phone buzzed. She froze. Darius. The name flashed across the cracked screen like a wound reopening. For a moment she thought about declining, letting silence be her answer. But fear, old conditioned fear, guided her thumb. She answered. "What do you want, Darius?" Her voice was tired, frayed. He exhaled sharply, the kind of exhale that used to make her shrink. "You need to come get your clothes. I'm throwing out the rest by tomorrow." Mariana swallowed. "You changed the locks, remember? And I don't have a key. You can come when Selah's home." Her chest tightened. "Selah? You mean the reason you threw me out?" There was a pause. A dangerous one. "Don't start, Mariana. I'm being generous." "Generous?" She nearly laughed. "You put my suitcase outside like I was trash. You erased me." "That's not my problem," he snapped. "You want your things or not?" She almost told him no. Almost. But those clothes were the last pieces of her that existed in that home. Memories stitched into fabric. Proof she had once belonged somewhere. "I'll come tomorrow morning," she said, voice steady. "Text me when." He hung up without a goodbye. Mariana lowered the phone, letting the cold bite at her fingers. She blinked rapidly, refusing to let the tears form. Not here. Not now. She had signed something at that bank, something her father had built for reasons she did not yet understand. She needed to survive tonight so she could walk into tomorrow with strength. She pulled out the business card Teresa had given her earlier. A contact number for temporary lodging funded by the corporate trust's provisional activation. "Use this tonight," Teresa had said. "You shouldn't be on the streets." Mariana hesitated, then dialed. 20 minutes later, a dark sedan arrived. The driver stepped out, a polite man with no expression, and opened the back door for her. "Miss Mariana Aduke?" "Yes. We're taking you to one of the bank's partner residences. Everything's arranged." Partner residences. She almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Hours ago, she was begging a bus station clerk for a seat. Now she was being ushered into a corporate vehicle, because her father had predicted a future she couldn't yet see. Inside the car, heat enveloped her like a soft blanket. She sank into the leather seat and let her head fall back. She didn't sleep, but the numb stillness felt like the closest thing she'd had to rest in days. They reached a small corporate suite about 30 minutes later. It wasn't luxurious, not in a flashy way, but it was clean, quiet, dignified. The receptionist handed her a keycard without asking questions. The room smelled faintly of lavender and new linen. A soft bed. A clean bathroom. A space that didn't hum with someone else's contempt. She locked the door and collapsed on the mattress, not bothering to remove her shoes. The silence of the room pressed around her, gentle but unyielding. She stared at the ceiling for a long time before the tears finally came. The raw, scraping ones that felt pulled from her bones. She cried for her mother. For her father. For the home she had lost. For the man she had loved and the betrayal he had delivered with surgical precision. For the version of herself who stayed calm, who tolerated the small cruelties because she believed love could still be saved. And when she was done, when her body felt empty and spent, she sat up slowly, breathing through the ache, and whispered, "No more." It wasn't anger. It wasn't even determination yet. It was simply the truth. She had no more pieces left to give to a dead marriage or a man who wanted her to vanish. She reached for the bedside lamp and turned it on. Its warm glow flickered across the room, illuminating the small table where her father's card lay. She picked it up and ran her thumb along its worn edges. "You knew I'd need this," she said softly. "Did you know it would hurt this much?" The silence did not answer. She laid the card down and pulled the bank folder from her bag. Inside were the preliminary documents, the map of the acres, the corporate breakdown, the instructions for provisional activation. Her father's signature appeared on several pages. The loops of his handwriting made her chest tighten. A knock startled her. Her heart leaped into her throat. She moved toward the door cautiously, looking through the peephole. Elliot Kruma stood on the other side, hands in his coat pockets, expression unreadable. She opened the door a crack. "Mr. Kruma? Elliot is fine. May I come in?" She hesitated but stepped back. He entered quietly, scanning the room with a single sweep of his gaze before turning back to her. "I'm sorry for appearing unannounced," he said. "I won't make a habit of it, but I needed to give you this personally." He handed her a thin envelope, sealed with the bank's insignia. "Your provisional verification has cleared." Mariana's hands trembled as she took it. "Already? You're the direct biological heir." And Jonas left very specific instructions for immediate activation in the case of personal displacement. She looked up sharply. "Personal displacement?" Elliot nodded slowly. "Your father may not have predicted the exact circumstances, but he planned for you to seek refuge at some point. Whether from hardship, betrayal, or financial instability, he understood that the world wouldn't always treat you fairly." Her throat constricted. "He knew I'd fall." Elliot's gaze softened almost imperceptibly. "He knew you'd rise." Mariana exhaled a shaky breath. "What happens now?" "You choose," Elliot said simply. "You can finalize the activation in the morning and take control of the corporate trust. Or you can walk away. Once it's activated, there's no going back. You'll be responsible for thousands of acres, multiple assets, and legacy infrastructure. You'll need strategy, counsel, and resilience." She stared at the sealed envelope in her hands. The weight of it. The potential in it. "I don't know anything about running a corporation," she admitted. "That's why I'm here. If you activate the trust, I will assist you in reestablishing governance, securing the assets, and understanding your father's intentions." Elliot paused. "But you need to understand that this isn't just inheritance. It's a fight. Because once you step into this, you'll be exposed. People may challenge your authority. Some may want what's yours." Mariana felt the tremor return. Fear mixed with something like awakening heat, a spark she hadn't felt in years. "What would you advise me to do?" she asked. Elliot gave a small smile. "I'd advise you to read the letter inside. Jonas wrote it himself." Her breath caught. A letter. From her father. One he planned for her to receive only under these circumstances. As she reached for the envelope seal, Elliot quietly stepped back toward the door. "I'll return in the morning," he said. "If you decide to proceed, we have a long day ahead." Mariana barely heard him leave. Her fingers ripped the seal slowly, reverently. The envelope opened. Inside was a single handwritten page. Her father's handwriting. Her breath trembled. The room seemed to tilt. She read the first line. My daughter, if you are reading this, someone has tried to take everything from you. Her knees almost buckled. Mariana sat on the edge of the bed, the paper trembling between her fingers. Her father's handwriting, once so familiar, looked both comforting and haunting. The strokes were steady, deliberate, exactly the way he used to write grocery lists or birthday cards. Except this was different. This was a letter written for the day he hoped would never come. She swallowed, breath uneven, and began reading. My daughter, if you are reading this, someone has tried to take everything from you. Her chest tightened instantly. Her father had always been perceptive, almost unnervingly so. But reading these words felt like he had reached through time to put his hand on her shoulder. People will betray you not because you are weak, but because they fear who you will become once you discover your strength. A tear slid down her cheek. He knew. He knew her life would one day break in half. He knew she would stand alone. Do not be afraid. Pain is a compass. Follow it until you find the door you were always meant to open. Mariana pressed a hand to her trembling mouth. I built a Duke Heritage Trust not to give you wealth, but to give you independence. There will come a day when you have nothing left. No home, no safety, no person to lean on. On that day, this trust becomes your weapon. A weapon. The word echoed through her. Not a shield. Not a safety net. A weapon. She gripped the letter tighter, eyes burning. The acres, the farmland, the subsidiaries, they are not the end. They are the beginning. Use them wisely, and no one will ever have power over you again. She inhaled slowly, shakily, trying to absorb every word. You are more than a wife. More than someone's convenience. You are my legacy. And your mother's hope. Her breath stuttered. Take back your life. And when the time comes, build something greater than what broke you. Signed, Jonas Aduk. Your father. Mariana didn't realize she was crying until she tasted salt. She pressed the letter to her chest, curling around it like it was something living. She sobbed silently, years of swallowed emotions tearing out of her all at once. Betrayal, fear, regret, anger, and beneath it all, something awakening. A slow-burning heat that spread through her ribs, her stomach, her spine. Strength. For the first time since Darius threw her out, her breathing steadied. Her shoulders straightened. She wiped her face with trembling hands, inhaling deeply through her nose. Her father believed she could do this. He planned for her to do this. He left her the pieces of a kingdom, scattered, dormant, waiting for their rightful heir. She folded the letter and placed it gently back inside the envelope as if it were sacred. Then she stood. Her reflection in the mirror shocked her. Her eyes were red, her hair damp with tears, her clothes rumpled. But beneath all that, there was a hardness growing in her gaze. A sharpness she didn't recognize. A woman rising. A woman who had run out of reasons to stay small. She turned away from the mirror and paced the room, movements purposeful now. Darius thought she would crumble. Selah thought she was replaceable. They believed she would crawl away quietly, broken, humiliated. They had no idea what she had been given, what she was about to become. A knock sounded. She stiffened. Who would knock this late? She walked to the door cautiously, checking the peephole. A hotel staff member stood there, holding a small package. She opened the door a crack. Package for Ms. Mariana Aduk, the young woman said with a polite smile, handing her a small black box. Mariana frowned. Who sent this? The woman shrugged. Was delivered just now. Instructions say it's urgent. Mariana took the box, thanked her, and shut the door. She placed the box on the bed, hesitating, then opened it. Inside, wrapped in black tissue paper, was a secure USB drive and a single note. From your father's attorney. For your eyes only. Her pulse quickened. She plugged the USB into the room's laptop, half expecting alarms or warnings. Instead, a folder opened instantly. Inside were 3 items. A scanned document labeled Asset Ledger, a Duke Heritage Trust. A video file labeled for Mariana. And a PDF titled Contingency Plan, A3. Her fingers hovered over the video. She clicked. The screen lit up. Her father appeared, older, thinner, speaking from a hospital room. The sight of him made Mariana gasp. It had been 4 years since she lost him, but seeing his face again was like a knife carving through her sadness and love. "Mariana," he said softly, voice hoarse but warm. "If you're watching this, I am already gone." Her knees weakened. She sat down slowly. "I wish I could have told you everything sooner. But some truths are better delivered when you need them, not when you are comfortable." He adjusted his position, wincing slightly. "The trust you're about to activate, it is not small. It holds far more than farmland. There are land rights, mineral rights, dormant investment accounts, intellectual property patents, and holdings under shell subsidiaries. It is complex, because you will need strength that cannot be taken or manipulated." Mariana leaned closer, breath held. "People may come for what is yours. They may test you, doubt you, dismiss you. Some may even try to destroy you. But listen to me carefully." His voice hardened, a tone she had never heard from him before. "Every piece of this was built for you. Not to make you wealthy, though it will. Not to make you powerful, though you will be." He leaned forward. "But to ensure that no one, not one single person, can ever make you feel small again." A sob escaped her. He smiled sadly. "Rise, my daughter. Rise with purpose. Rise with dignity. And rise with fire. I believe in you with my last breath." The video ended. Mariana sat frozen, overwhelmed, trembling, but burning with something fierce and alive. She wiped her eyes slowly. Tomorrow, she would activate the trust. Tomorrow she would begin. And soon, Darius would learn what a mistake it was to throw out a woman with a kingdom sleeping under her feet. Morning came like a blade. Not softly, not gently, but sharp, slicing through the remnants of Mariana's grief. She woke up on the couch of her cousin's cramped living room. The blanket twisted around her legs, the room still carrying the faint scent of burnt toast and detergent. The world felt unfamiliar, almost foreign, as though she'd been born again somewhere between midnight and sunrise. But the moment her eyes opened, something inside her clicked. Resolve. Cold and heavy as iron. She sat up, her breath shaky but determined, and stared at the small velvet pouch sitting on the coffee table. The same pouch she had held to her chest the night before like a dying ember of hope. Inside it, her father's card. Black, metallic, and humming with a past she never truly understood. She reached for it with both hands, palms slightly trembling, as if touching something sacred. Her father, Chief Adebayo Aduk, had always moved in silence, a man whose modest appearance concealed storms of influence. Growing up, she remembered him wearing the same worn wristwatch for 15 years, even though powerful men frequently visited their home with envelopes, paperwork, and hushed conversations. He lived simply. He died quietly. But he had always told her something cryptic. Aduk blood carries inheritance differently. We bury our treasures wisely. At the time she thought he meant moral values, cultural pride, old-world philosophy. Now she wondered if she had misunderstood everything. Mariana stood, washed her face, tied her hair back, and walked out of the apartment with the velvet pouch pressed against her heart. Today she would activate the trust. Today, she would wake whatever her father put to sleep. And her hands, still shaking slightly, betrayed just how much that thought terrified her. The bank branch. The building towered above her like some glass monolith, sunlight glinting off its panels so brightly she had to squint. It didn't look like a place meant for people like her. People wearing the same clothes as yesterday, people whose hearts were stitched together with raw determination, not wealth. But she walked through the glass doors anyway, chin lifted. Inside, the lobby buzzed with soft-spoken bank staff, muted phones, and the sterile scent of polished marble. She approached the reception desk where a young woman with a neat bun and bright red lipstick smiled mechanically. "Good morning, ma'am. How may I assist you?" Mariana swallowed hard, then slid the card onto the counter. "I need to access this account." The receptionist's smile twitched. She picked up the card and froze. Her brows pinched. Her eyes flickered, confusion then alertness. One moment." Her voice lost its cheery tone instantly. The woman excused herself and walked briskly toward a hallway behind frosted glass. Mariana's heartbeat spiked. That wasn't normal. She waited. Minutes crawled. People moved around her, unaware that her entire life was balancing on the edge of a single piece of metal. Finally, two people emerged. The receptionist, now pale, and a tall man in a midnight blue suit with gold cufflinks and a watch far too expensive for everyday banking staff. "Mrs. Leduc?" he asked. Mariana nodded. "Please follow me." He didn't say please have a seat, or what can we do for you. No, he escorted her. Straight to a heavy door with a biometric lock. Straight into a private executive office she had no business entering. And as she stepped inside, a cold shiver ran down her spine. The man shut the door behind her gently. "My name is Mr. Lawson. I'm the regional director. We need to verify some things." He placed the card on his mahogany desk as if it were a grenade. Mariana's fingers curled in her lap. "Is something wrong?" she asked quietly. He stared at the card, then at her, then back at the card. "Ma'am, do you know what this is?" "It's my father's," she said. "He left it for emergencies." Mr. Lawson exhaled sharply through his nose, the kind of breath a person takes before delivering news they can't soften. "This isn't just a card. It's a key." "A key to what?" He tapped the embossed insignia, a small crest she had never paid much attention to. "This card is tied to a dormant trust structure under a Duc Consolidated Estates. And according to our system, activating it triggers a bank-wide protocol." She blinked, stunned. "I don't understand." Mr. Lawson leaned back. His face was both professional and rattled. "Mrs. Leduc, your father was a very wealthy man." The room spun slightly. "That can't be right. My father lived." "Modestly, yes. But hidden wealth is older than banking itself. Especially with certain African families who built private trusts outside of public records." He pressed a button on his desk. A projector screen hissed down. A digital map illuminated. Her breath caught. She saw parcels of land marked in green. Dozens of them, spanning regions she didn't even recognize. "Your father owned all this?" Mr. Lawson nodded gravely. "And more." Her pulse thudded in her temples. "But why keep it secret from me?" Mr. Lawson folded his hands. Duc trusts are only activated once the next of kin reaches a breaking point. Her skin prickled. "A breaking point?" He nodded. "Your father filed your trigger condition himself. Release the inheritance only when my daughter is stripped of home secure." The words slammed into her chest. She stared at him, stunned beyond breath. Her father had known. Not about Darius, but about life. About betrayal. About how the world treated women when they had nothing left. Her father prepared for this moment. For the day she stood here broken. Mr. Lawson continued, voice steady. "Mrs. Leduc, please understand. Once we activate this account, a senior committee will be alerted. Security will be assigned. Representatives from 3 departments must sign off. You'll gain access to assets worth." He stopped, looked at the screen, hesitated. "Well over 9 figures." Mariana's breath left her body. 9 figures? Her hands shook uncontrollably now, not from fear, but from disbelief, from rage, from awe. Darius had thrown her out, dragged her through humiliation, took everything. But her father had left her a kingdom, sleeping, waiting, hidden beneath one old card. She whispered, "Activate it." Mr. Lawson stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. "As you wish, Mrs. Leduc. I'll initiate the protocol." And as he slid the card into his terminal, lights blinked, systems whirred, and alerts cascaded across his screens. The bank panicked. And Mariana sat perfectly still. Because for the first time since her world collapsed, she wasn't afraid. She was becoming something else. Something powerful. For a moment the room felt soundless. Too quiet. As if even the air itself was holding its breath. Mariana sat there, spine straight, palms pressed against her thighs, watching as the bank director's monitor erupted into flashes of yellow and red. A cascade of pop-ups filled Mr. Lawson's screen. Alerts, authentication requests, encrypted prompts. Every single one had the same header. A Duc protocol alert. Level a priority. Mr. Lawson muttered under his breath. "My God!" He typed rapidly, but the system kept requesting additional authorization. Fingerprint verification. Iris scan. A second director's override. It was excessive. It was dramatic. It was intentional. Her father had built a fortress around her inheritance. and activating it awakened more systems than she knew existed. Mr. Lawson's office phone rang, then his desk tablet, then his encrypted line, all simultaneously. He shot her a wide-eyed look, not fear of her, but fear of what her father had put in motion. Mrs. Aduk, someone very high up has been notified. He swallowed hard. They want to speak to you. Before Mariana could respond, the screen on his tablet flickered and a video window opened automatically. A woman appeared, sharp jawline, silver-rimmed glasses, hair pulled into a precise bun. She wore a charcoal suit and had the stern eyes of someone accustomed to power. Mrs. Aduk, the woman said calmly, "My name is Olivia Kane. I am the Chief Compliance Officer of Meridian Continental Bank." Mr. Lawson straightened in his chair so fast it almost squeaked. Olivia continued, "Your father left very specific instructions for the activation of this trust. We have been awaiting this moment for 6 years. Mariana's breath stuttered. "Awaiting?" "Yes," Olivia said. "Chief Adebayo contacted us repeatedly before his death. He emphasized that his daughter must be protected at a pivotal moment of her life. This today is that moment." Mariana blinked back sudden tears. She had spent weeks feeling abandoned by the world, feeling forgotten, feeling disposable. And here she was discovering that someone, her father, had prepared for her darkest hour long before it came. Olivia's tone softened, only slightly. "We need verbal confirmation from you, Mrs. Aduk. Do you wish to initiate full release of the trust and all holdings under Aduk Consolidated Estates?" Mariana inhaled deeply. This was no longer about revenge. Not greed. Not desperation. This was about becoming the woman her father believed she would need to be. Her voice came out steady. "Yes, I confirm." Olivia nodded once, sharply. "In that case, Mariana Aduk." A brief pause followed, as if a world-shifting announcement required its own breath. "You now have access to all assets, liquidity pools, land acquisitions, and business entities under the Aduk umbrella." Mariana stared. Mr. Lawson stared. The screen changed, pulling up a summary. Her pulse pounded. Estimated trust valuation conservative. 58.4 billion Nigerian naira, or 94,800,000 US dollars. Her vision swam. 94 million. She almost choked. But before she could even process the number, Olivia's voice came through again. "And this excludes non-liquid assets such as land, mineral rights, and dormant subsidiaries in East and West Africa. With those included, actual valuation exceeds 9 figures." Mariana grabbed the arms of her chair. Mr. Lawson coughed into his fist as if that would hide his shock. Olivia continued, composed and cold as polished granite. "You will be assigned a personal asset manager, a legal team, and a security detail. We also recommend a forensic audit of your husband's actions. Your father anticipated complications." Mariana's mouth parted. "He knew I would be betrayed?" "In more diplomatic terms," Olivia replied. "He believed you might someday be placed in a vulnerable position by someone close, and he ensured the moment that happened, power would transfer into your hands." A shiver raced down Mariana's spine. Her father had known life would test her, but he hadn't left her unarmed. "Mr. Lawson," Olivia said crisply, "escort Mrs. Aduk to Vault Room C. She must complete biometric registration and review the documents personally." The call ended. Mr. Lawson stood immediately. "Mrs. Aduk, please follow me." The vault. They descended 2 levels underground. The air grew colder, quieter, heavier. Security doors opened one by one, each requiring fingerprints, keycards, retinal scans. Mariana felt like she was walking through the bones of a sleeping giant. Vault Room C was enormous, more like a private archive than a vault. The lights flickered on, illuminating shelves, old metal boxes, thick binders, sealed envelopes, and embossed files bearing her family name. Aduk. Stamped in gold. Mr. Lawson guided her to a long metal table. Her father's handwriting sat on every envelope. Her knees almost buckled. She touched one gently. It trembled under her fingertips. Inside were incorporation documents, land titles, old photos of her father standing beside farmlands and industrial sites, ledgers showing money moved and hidden for decades. Letters addressed to her. She opened the first letter. My daughter. If you are reading this, it means life has taken from you something it had no right to. You must now take back what is yours. Lead with strength, not mercy. With vision, not fear. The Aduk legacy belongs to you. Bubba. Her throat tightened. A tear slipped down her cheek, falling onto the signature. Mr. Lawson pretended not to notice, giving her the dignity of privacy. After several minutes, she wiped her face and stood straighter. What do I need to do next? She asked. He nodded at her resolve. First, sign as primary beneficiary and new CEO of Aduk Holdings. SB. The word pressed against her chest like a crown she wasn't sure she was ready to wear. But she signed. Her signature flowed with shaky defiance, the mark of a woman stepping into power she never expected. Once the final paper was done, Mr. Lawson locked the documents into a digital vault and handed her a new card, sleek, black, and embossed with her name. Mariana Aduk, principal holder. Her hands tingled as she held it. Tomorrow, Mr. Lawson said softly, your world will not look the same. She nodded. But what she didn't know, not yet, was that her world had already started shifting. Above ground, in his high-rise office, Darius was about to face the first tremor. Darius Adeyemi strutted into his office tower the way he always did, with the confidence of a man who believed the world was his. A tailored charcoal suit, a gold wristwatch gleaming on his arm, a smirk pinned to his face like a permanent accessory. He pushed through the glass doors of Adeyemi Urban Design, greeting no one, nodding at no one. His employees parted around him like water around a cold rock. He loved it, loved the power, loved the fear, loved the silence that followed him everywhere he walked. He sat at his desk, real wood imported, and leaned back with a satisfied sigh. It had been a week since he kicked Mariana out, a week since he felt that annoying weight of her presence finally lifted. And today he planned to meet with investors for his new luxury development project. A deal that would bring in millions. Millions that didn't include Mariana anymore. He chuckled to himself, tapping his pen on the glossy surface of his desk. Good riddance. But the universe always listens. And it chooses its moments with precision. At 9:14 a.m., his office door flew open without a knock. His CFO, Peter, stumbled inside, face pale, sweating through his shirt. His tie was crooked. His hands shook. Darius, we have a problem. Darius didn't even look up. Handle it. Darius, Peter choked. We can't handle this. Now Darius looked. Slowly. Very slowly. What is it? Peter swallowed hard. Our credit lines. What about them? They've been pulled. Darius froze. Pulled? By who? All of them. Darius's fingers tightened around his pen. That's impossible. Banks don't just. The office phone rang. Shrill. Urgent. Peter grabbed it without waiting. Yes? Yes, patch them through. He handed the phone to Darius with a trembling hand. It's Meridian Continental. Darius pressed the phone to his ear, irritation simmering. This is Darius Adeyemi. A cold female voice responded. This is Stephanie Grant, Senior Lending Officer. We're calling to inform you that Meridian Continental is terminating all lines of credit associated with Adeyemi Urban Design effective immediately. Darius shot to his feet. You can't do that. We can and we have. My development project depends on those funds. Your projects have been flagged during a risk assessment review. Flagged for what? There was a pause. A dangerous pause. For potential fraud, material underreporting, and suspicious debt structuring. Darius's heart slammed against his ribs. What fraud? What underreporting? Who filed this? I'm not at liberty to disclose internal whistleblower identity. A whistleblower? His mind spun. Who the hell? Darius, the woman continued, her voice icy formal. Your accounts are frozen pending further compliance review. The line went dead. Darius stared at the receiver in disbelief. Frozen. Frozen. His entire empire ran on loans, cash flow, and carefully disguised debt stacking. Without credit, he was nothing. Peter, he said slowly, turning toward the trembling CFO, tell me this is a mistake. Peter rubbed his forehead. I've been on the phone all morning. Every major bank has frozen or closed your accounts. All. Darius repeated. Peter nodded. All. Darius sank back into his chair. Cold spread along his spine like creeping frost. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. Someone had moved against him. Someone with power. His chest tightened. Find out who filed that report. I already tried, Peter whispered. It's sealed. High-level encrypted clearance. I've never seen anything like it. Darius dragged a hand across his face. A week ago he was untouchable. Now his financial world was collapsing like a rotten wall. He stood up abruptly. I'll fix this. How? Peter asked helplessly. Darius didn't answer. He stormed out. The bank same day. Mariana sat in the sleek, private lounge on the executive floor. Sipping tea she was too overwhelmed to taste. A million things spun in her head at once. Her father's hidden wealth. Her new responsibilities. The fact that she was now the CEO of Aduk Holdings. But she kept returning to one image. Darius closing the door on her. The smirk on his face. The bags in her hands. The humiliation burning in her chest. She hadn't come here for revenge. She came here because her father believed she would need power to survive. But maybe power was also meant to be wielded. A soft knock pulled her from her thoughts. Mr. Lawson stepped in. Mrs. Aduk, your asset manager is on his way. He'll guide you through the acquisition opportunities tied to your holdings. Acquisition, she repeated. Yes. He adjusted his glasses. There are many distress companies tied to your husband's projects. Her head tilted. Distressed. Mr. Lawson gave a tight smile. Frozen credit lines have effects. Something sparked inside her chest. Not cruel but undeniably sharp. Does that mean I can purchase them? With the liquidity you now possess? He replied. You could acquire far more than his failing assets. Mariana set her teacup down slowly. Her hands no longer trembled. What would be the benefit of acquiring them? She asked. Mr. Lawson hesitated only slightly. Well, his business relies heavily on those assets. If you own them, he would have no operational foundation. She exhaled. A slow, steady breath. A clean break. And more, Lawson said. Control of assets means control of leverage. Leverage. The word tasted like armor on her tongue. Arrange a meeting with my asset manager, she said. Today. Of course. Darius, the downfall begins. Darius stormed into his penthouse, the same penthouse he had thrown Mariana out of, slamming the door so hard it shook. Inia, he shouted. Where are you? His mistress emerged from the bedroom wrapped in silk. What's wrong, baby? Everything, he snapped. Inia folded her arms. And what does that have to do with me? Darius froze. She wasn't soothing him. Not comforting him. Not afraid of him. She was annoyed. Are you serious? He snapped. I'm having the worst day of my career. Well, Inia said casually, maybe you shouldn't have been so reckless with your finances. His jaw clenched. What did you say? Inia shrugged. I mean freezing accounts? Investigations? That sounds like someone who didn't cover their tracks. Darius stared. A horrible thought crept into his mind. Did you say something? He asked in a low, dangerous voice. Me? She laughed. As if I care enough about your job to report you. But her eyes flickered. And Darius knew a liar when he saw one. He grabbed her wrist. Tell me the truth. Inia yanked her hand away. Don't touch me like that, she snapped. He stepped closer, chest heaving. And then, his phone vibrated. He pulled it out. A message from one of his investors. We were informed your main project has been purchased by a new holding company. Effective immediately, our partnership is terminated. Darius felt his blood turn to ice. Purchased? By who? He scrolled. Another message. And another. Each notification hit like a hammer. Your land rights are now under Aduk Holdings. Your equipment leases have been transferred. Your construction bonds have been acquired. Aduk. 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 Darius lifted his head at last, face drained of color. No, he whispered. No, it can't be. Inia raised an eyebrow. Who's Aduk? Darius's voice cracked. My wife. After my husband kicked me out, I used my father's old card. The bank panicked. I was shocked. Mariana did not sleep well. Every time she shut her eyes, images of the boardroom replayed. The tension, the gasps, the shift of power, the vindication that had tasted bittersweet on her tongue. She had walked in as Darius's discarded wife. She had walked out as the daughter of the man who built an empire. But with power came a strange new feeling, fear. A new kind of fear. Not the fear of being homeless. Not the fear of being unwanted. Not the fear of having nothing. No, this was the fear of stepping into a world she had been kept out of for so long, and suddenly being expected to lead it. She woke early, washed her face, put her hair into a low bun, and sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at her reflection. "You can do this," she whispered, because there was no turning back now. Not after yesterday. Not after the bank bowed to her. Not after the board recognized her. Not after she stepped forward and refused to be invisible. Today was different. Today she wasn't reacting to life falling apart. Today she was building. And step one of building was the thing she feared most. Telling Zora the truth. The cafe Zora had chosen was busy, crowded, filled with the noise of morning meetings and espresso machines. Zora sat at a table in the corner, her curly hair piled up, her glasses perched on her nose as she stared into a cup of tea like it insulted her. When she looked up and saw Mariana approaching, she froze. Then her face softened just a little. "You look," Zora frowned, "different." Mariana exhaled shakily. "I feel different."
Zora motion for her tog sit.
"Okay."
Spil.
Mariana swallowed. "Zora, everything I'm about to say is going to sound ridiculous. Try me. I confronted the bank yesterday. Good. I used my father's old card. Even better. The bank panicked." Zora raised an eyebrow. "That's fascinating and suspicious. And then," Mariana continued, voice trembling, "I discovered my father left me a trust. A legal, fully documented trust worth." She couldn't even finish it before Zora lifted a hand. "Is it enough to buy a house?" "Yes." "Is it enough to buy my dream house?" "Yes." "Is it enough to buy several houses?" "Yes." Zora blinked, then blinked again. "Is it enough to rescue this country's failing power grid?" "Possibly." Zora slammed both hands on the table. A man nearby jumped, spilling his drink. "Girl," Zora half whispered, half shouted, "you're rich." Mariana winced. "Not rich rich. More like my father was involved in more than I realized. And the trust is complicated. And the board wants to meet with me again. And there's a legal advisor. And," Zora leaned back, staring as if she were trying to identify an alien species. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that your husband kicked you out, and you accidentally discovered that you're basically a stealth heir?" Mariana covered her face with her hands. "I didn't want to hide it. I didn't even know." Zora shook her head. Then she got up, walked around the table, grabbed Mariana by the shoulders and forced her to stand. "Listen," she whispered fiercely. "You are going to stop apologizing for being powerful. You hear me?" Mariana nodded weakly. "You didn't steal anything. You didn't cheat for anything. You didn't manipulate anyone. You didn't lie, trick, or betray." Her grip tightened. "You inherited what was yours." Tears stung Mariana's eyes. "And now," Zora continued, "you are going to use every tool available to you to rebuild your life, and burn that man's arrogance to the ground if he steps in your way." Mariana hugged her tightly. Zora hugged back. It felt like having a sister for the first time in years. After a long moment they sat back down. "So," Zora asked, sipping her tea, "what's the next move?" Mariana hesitated. "There's something else," she confessed softly. "Something I didn't say." Zora's eyes narrowed. "Go on." "My father left a private letter. It was hidden inside the trust documents." Zora leaned forward. "A letter?" "Yes." Mariana stared at her hands. "He said the trust is only phase 1. He mentioned something he called the Vault of Eldridge. And he said when I'm ready, I should ask the bank's director for the second key." Zora blinked. Then she blinked again. Then she whispered, "Mariana, I think your father was doing some Batman-level billionaire stuff." Mariana half laughed, half sobbed. "I don't understand any of this." Then we're going to figure it out together. Later that afternoon, Mariana received a text. Unknown number. We need to talk. Now. D. Mariana froze. Her stomach plummeted. Her fingers went cold. She typed back one word. No. Immediately, the typing dots appeared. Darius. Mariana, please. It's important. She locked her phone and shoved it away. She was not going backwards. Not now. At 5 p.m., she returned to the hotel. As soon as she stepped into the lobby, the manager rushed toward her. Ms. Aduk, there are 2 men asking for you. They're waiting upstairs. Should I call security? Mariana's heart thrashed. Who are they? She stammered. They claim, the manager said delicately, that they are here to deliver something regarding your father's estate. Her pulse stopped, then bolted. Estate. Not trust. Not bank. Estate. As in more. As in something she still didn't know. Let them wait in the conference room, Mariana said, trying to steady her voice. As she walked toward the elevator, her mind raced. Her father. What had he been involved in? Why were new pieces still unfolding? Why did everyone suddenly know her name? When she reached the conference room, she paused, took a breath, and pushed open the door. 2 men in immaculate suits stood. One older, one younger. Both bowed slightly. Ms. Aduk, the older man said, we are here to deliver the first portion of your father's sealed archive. Archive, she whispered. Yes, the younger added. What you saw yesterday was only the beginning. Her breath caught. The older man set a black, heavy sealed steel case on the table. It was engraved with her father's initials, and a symbol she had never seen before. We were instructed, he said gently, to give you this only after you activated the trust. Mariana stared. Cold spread through her veins. What, she whispered, is inside? The younger man folded his hands. Ms. Aduk, your father was not just wealthy. He paused. He was powerful. Her knees weakened. And this, the older man finished, is what he left for you to finish. Mariana's world tilted, and the room fell silent. After my husband kicked me out, I used my father's old card. The bank panicked. I was shocked. For a long moment, Mariana couldn't breathe. The black steel case sat on the table like a sleeping creature. Heavy, ominous, alive with secrets meant for someone far stronger than she believed she was. Her father's initials gleamed faintly in the low hotel lighting, carved with a precision that reminded her of old vaults and ancient locks in museums. Not for show. Not for decoration. For protection. The older man stepped back respectfully, hands clasped behind him. This archive, he said quietly, contains items your father believed you might need should circumstances change. Change how? Mariana whispered. The younger man exchanged a subtle glance with his companion. Your father anticipated conflict, he said. And competitors. Competitors. The word sliced through her. My father had enemies? She asked, her voice barely steady. Powerful ones, the older man confirmed. Some still active. Some waiting. Waiting for her? Mariana's stomach turned. She opened her mouth to speak, but a sudden loud knock interrupted the room. All 3 froze. Another knock. Sharper this time. Ms. Aduk. A voice called urgently through the door. It's the bank director. We need to discuss the second key. The men in suits stiffened instantly. The older one leaned close, whispering, do not let him in until we finish. But the knocking grew insistent. Ms. Aduk opened the door. This is extremely important. The younger man closed the steel case quickly and locked it with a swift turn of an embedded mechanism. The director is not your enemy, he murmured. But he is not your ally either, not yet. Let us position ourselves. He and his partner moved to opposite sides of the room, standing with a stillness that made Mariana shiver. Not guards. Operatives. Her father hadn't been a simple banker. That much was now undeniable. Mariana straightened, walked to the door, and opened it just enough. The bank director, Mr. Hayes, stood there sweating breathless, tie askew as if he had sprinted. When he saw her face, his expression softened, but only slightly. Ms. Aduk, he said in a thin voice. We must speak privately. Her spine lifted. No, she said. Whatever you have to say, you can say here. Hayes's eyes darted behind her, spotting the two men in black suits. His face paled. Oh, I see they've already come. Yes, Mariana answered coolly. They have. And now you may speak. Hayes exhaled shakily and stepped inside, closing the door behind him. He did not sit. He clutched a slim envelope in his hand like it was a bomb. I received an alert, he began. A confidential internal signal that your father's secondary directive has been activated. Mariana felt her throat tighten. The second key? She asked. Hayes nodded. The older operative stepped forward. We told her you would come. But not why. Hayes rubbed his face. I wish I didn't have to. He handed Mariana the envelope. Your father instructed that if the trust was ever invoked under hostile domestic circumstances, and if you accessed his master card, then the second key must be released to you immediately. Hostile domestic circumstances. Her breath hitched painfully. Her marriage. Her exile. Her humiliation. Her father had known. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a metal card. Not plastic, not digital, engraved with the same crest on the steel case. And beneath it, a single sentence handwritten in her father's elegant script. My Mariana, when you hold this key, you are no longer alone. Her vision blurred. For a moment she couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Hayes swallowed. That key grants you access to your father's private vault. Not the trust vault. Not the financial one. The Eldridge vault. The younger operative added. There are assets, documents, and protections there that go far beyond wealth. Mariana whispered. What protections? Both operatives went silent. Hayes looked at her gently. Your father prepared for the possibility that someone might try to harm you. Harm her? Her knees nearly gave out. The older operative stepped forward again. There is a faction, old rivals of your father's. They disappeared when he died. But we recently learned they've taken an interest in you. Mariana felt cold all over. Why? She breathed. The younger operative hesitated. Then he answered. Because they believe you hold something your father never gave them. Her pulse roared in her ears. I don't, she whispered. I don't hold anything. Not yet, the older man corrected. But once you unlock the vault, you will. A sharp knock sounded outside. All four of them tensed instantly. Who's that? Mariana whispered. The younger operative moved silently to the door, glanced through the peephole and stiffened. It's Darius. Mariana's heart plummeted. Not now. Not now. Not when her entire world was shifting at once. Another knock, harder this time. Mariana, open the door. Darius's voice sounded different. Frantic. Angry. Confused. I know everything. Everything. Mariana backed away from the door instinctively. He cannot be allowed into this room, the older operative said sharply. It is not safe. Not safe for whom? Her. Darius. The secrets? The knocking intensified until it felt like a battering ram against the wood. Mariana! Darius shouted. Open this door right now. She closed her eyes. Her hands shook. Her past and future were on opposite sides of one thin slab of wood. Hayes whispered urgently. Ms. Aduc, you need to choose. Do you want us to escort him away? The younger operative added. Or should we let him speak, under our supervision? Mariana opened her eyes slowly, and the trembling stopped. No, she whispered. He doesn't get to barge into my life anymore. She turned to the operatives. Please, have him removed from the floor. Both men bowed slightly. As you wish, Ms. Aduc. Within seconds they were gone, swift, silent, efficient. Minutes later, she heard Darius's voice echoing down the hallway. Let go of me. Mariana. Mariana. The elevator dinged. Silence returned. The two operatives re-entered the room calmly, closing the door behind them. It is done, the older man said. Mariana didn't smile, didn't gloat, didn't revel. She simply exhaled a breath she had been holding for years. Good, she whispered. Now tell me everything my father left behind. After my husband kicked me out, I used my father's old card. The bank panicked. I was shocked. For a moment, nobody breathed. The room felt charged, like a storm waiting for her command. The metal key lay cold in her palm, yet it pulsed with a strange warmth, as though her father's hand still covered hers. The older operative stepped forward respectfully. "Ms. Duke," he said, "the Eldridge Vault is not here at this branch. It is off-site, in a secured federal district. Your father acquired a private wing." Her eyebrows lifted. "A private wing," she whispered. "Yes," he said. "And its protections must be activated in person." The younger operative placed a folder on the table. "This contains the instructions your father left. Once you enter the vault, a biometric chain will finalize your inheritance and register you as the new principal." Mariana's throat tightened. "My father prepared all this for me?" The older man nodded solemnly. "He prepared for a moment he prayed would never come." Mariana sat on the edge of the hotel bed, fingers trembling as she opened the folder. The first page wasn't legal text. It wasn't banking contracts or company shares. It was a letter. Her father's handwriting curved across the page, steady, elegant, strong. "My Mariana, if you are reading this, then life has tested you more than I hoped." Her breath hitched. "I built many walls in my lifetime. Walls of money, walls of secrets, walls of allies and enemies. But I never built a wall around you. You are the only treasure I wanted to keep free." A tear slipped down her cheek. "If someone has tried to take from you, remember that you carry the Aduk fire. And fire, my daughter, does not beg. It burns." Mariana pressed the letter to her chest, shoulders shaking. This wasn't just inheritance. It was protection, validation, a father's final embrace. She wiped her tears fiercely. "Let's go," she said. "Tonight." The operatives exchanged glances, impressed. Hayes swallowed nervously. "Ms. Aduk, the vault wing isn't something you visit casually. Even the process of entering." "I don't care," she said, voice steel raw. "My father left this for a reason, and I refuse to waste a single hour living like I'm cornered." Her jaw tightened. "Take me." The night was cold, the moon hanging over the city like a pale sentinel. A black armored sedan waited outside the hotel entrance. The older operative held the door open. Mariana slid in, clutching the key. The metal was warm now, too warm, as if reacting to her pulse. The city lights streaked past as they drove. The younger operative glanced back at her. "Ms. Aduk, when you enter the vault, certain systems will awaken." "What systems?" she asked. His voice lowered. "Safeguards, directives, and alerts." "Alerts for who?" He hesitated. "The rivals who have been searching for your father's missing assets." Mariana's stomach dropped. "So when I activate the vault, they'll know." The older operative nodded slowly. "Yes, but they will also know that you are under our protection now. And that will matter." They arrived at a large, nondescript federal building. No signs, no logos, just cold stone and silence. But Mariana felt it before she saw it. Something old, something heavy, something alive with purpose. The operatives scanned badges, entered codes, and passed multiple locked corridors until they reached a reinforced steel door. The younger operative turned to her. "Only you can open this." Mariana stepped forward, heart pounding. There was a biometric panel, a laser scanner, a metal slot shaped exactly like the key. Her hands trembled as she inserted it. A low hum vibrated through the corridor. Lights flickered. The floor trembled slightly. "Identity confirmation required," a deep synthetic voice intoned. The panel glowed. "Place your hand." Mariana pressed her palm to the glass. A warm light spread around her fingers, crawling up her wrist. The machine chimed. "Bloodline match confirmed." The door unlocked. It didn't swing open dramatically. Instead, it sank into the floor, smooth as silk. Mariana sucked in a breath. The vault wing was enormous. Not a room, a private subterranean complex. Shelves of binders and documents. Rows of locked boxes. Heavy cases identical to the one she saw earlier. Her father's life, organized, preserved, hidden. The older operative motioned. "Start with that drawer. That is where he left the core directives." Mariana approached slowly. Her fingers brushed the drawer handle, and she froze. It vibrated. Not violently, not threateningly, just aware. She pulled it open. Inside was a leather binder stamped with the Aduk crest. And beneath it, another card. Black. Clear edges. Embedded chip. A card unlike anything she had ever seen. The metal glimmered faintly as she lifted it. "What is this?" she whispered. The older operative inhaled sharply. "The Dominion card." Even the younger operative shifted nervously. Hayes, who had followed but stood far behind, turned pale. The Dominion," he stuttered. "Your father actually finished it?" "Finished what?" Mariana's fingers tightened around the card. "What does it do?" she asked quietly. The older operative looked at her with a mixture of respect and fear. "It gives you full control of every entity your father created, and every subsidiary created under them. Companies, shells, trusts, properties, global accounts, partnerships, even the dormant ones." The younger operative added, "It is the master switch of your father's empire." Her eyes widened slowly. "And activating it," the older man said softly, "will announce to all his rivals and all his allies that a new principal has taken the throne." Mariana's breathing slowed, deepened, solidified. The woman who'd been thrown out with a suitcase was gone. Standing in this vault wasn't a victim. It was a queen awakening in the center of a sleeping kingdom. "Then activate it," she whispered. The older operative bowed his head. "As you command, Ms. Duc." The moment the card touched the scanner pedestal, the entire vault illuminated with a rising glow. Screens flickered to life. Safes unlocked. Systems rebooted. Far away, across oceans and continents, alerts pinged in secret offices and hidden networks. And in a distant villa, an old rival opened his eyes for the first time in years. "So," he murmured, staring at the alert on his encrypted tablet, "Tundaduk's daughter has awakened." Back at the vault, Mariana stood still, watching the glow rise higher around her. She didn't tremble. She didn't fear. She simply whispered to herself, "Thank you, Daddy. I'm ready." And as the vault sealed her inheritance into motion, the last piece of the old life fell away. Mariana Duc had begun.